So Julie Johnson, as you say, I run the Success Club, and basically, thank you. I help you get out of your own way so that you can get on and do the stuff that's going to make the biggest difference, both to you leading your business and possibly even growing your business, but also just having a happier life, just feeling happier in yourself.
Yeah. You've got 3 tips to share with us about stepping inside.
I have, yeah. Yeah. So tip number 1, which is going to sound really basic, but I'll explain why, is notice. And that's because out of the 2 million plus pieces of sensory information that can come into our brains at any one time, our central nervous system kind of deletes, distorts, generalizes information because our conscious awareness can only take in about 7 pieces, give or take a few. So we've got this lovely filter that filters out or changes things as they're going in to your conscious awareness, which means basically we're only conscious of things that we generally believe and know about, or think we know about the world currently. So that impacts, that influences how we feel, what we see, what we experience. So that's the reason my first tip is notice, because there is so much beneath the surface. There is so much there that we are unaware of. And very often it's the stuff that we're unaware of that's actually stopping us or that's getting in our way when we're trying to do stuff. So you know yourself, we kind of, a lot of us know what we need to do and what we want to do, but we're not always doing it.
Yeah.
And there are reasons, but we're not consciously aware of them. And the first step to becoming consciously aware of them is simply to notice. And that's to notice what's going on for you, and particularly to notice your thoughts and your feelings. So whatever's going on in your head. So sometimes people notice feelings first. They kind of notice how they feel, but very often we don't acknowledge that. We kind of have a sense that there's something going on, but we're kind of, oh, well, we're too busy and we'll just carry on doing whatever. But if we did stop to notice, then we'd realize that there's stuff going on in our heads. We're having thoughts that are creating those feelings, and we're giving a lot of weight and credence to those thoughts, which means that those feelings are becoming really real for us, whether or not we kind of recognize them. So you cannot change anything unless you are consciously aware of what's going on for you in the moment. And that's where noticing comes in. And so people might call it mindfulness, but I like noticing, because that word to me is lighter, and I know what it means. And that's what I talk about this a lot.
You do, yeah. And I can have going, I'm noticing this, Julie would be proud.
Absolutely, yeah, because it is the first step. You know, how do we change things if we're not aware of what's going on for us? I know we can have the theory and we can have all the, this is what you need to do in the business. But if it's not happening, if you're not kind of fully effective and reaching your potential and you know, your business is going great, then there may be other things that are impacting that. And because we are such complex individuals, human beings, then sometimes it's to do with us.
Yeah.
There's somebody there, I don't know who it is, saying noticing's made a big impact, on your anxiety. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge,
you're really good at managing your anxiety, aren't you, Sarah? I think you do a lot of noticing.
Yeah. And I mean that links to my second one, but I'll not go into that yet. But it's very simple.
Yeah.
But as with all things simple, it's not always easy to do.
Very true.
Because we need to kind of bring ourselves into the now, don't we? And say, actually, what is going on for me right now? You know, so if you're sitting trying to do work and you're procrastinating, or you're starting to feel overwhelmed or whatever, just kind of pausing, taking a breath, and just being still. You can ask yourself a question, or you can literally just be still. And people say, you know, quiet in your mind. Well, we're human beings, and stuff goes on in there all of the time. So it can be difficult to quieten your mind, but actually I'm now at the stage where that isn't particularly difficult. And I noticed the absence of a whole load of stuff that used to be there. And that's simply by noticing, first and foremost. There were a couple of other things which I'll go on to in other tips, but that is absolutely the first step.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, Sarah says it does get easier. It took her a while to get her head around it, but it does get easier. Yeah, I think it does. I'm still in the taking a while to get my head around it phase, but it is definitely getting. I'm noticing that I'm noticing more.
Yeah, which is a good start. And I think we need to celebrate that, and that's what we need. Yeah. We need to recognize that is good. That it's not a bad thing if you notice a whole load of stuff. Actually, that's good, because that wasn't in your conscious awareness previously.
Yeah.
So if it comes into your conscious awareness, applaud yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back.
I totally do that, yes. Joanne says she's useless at quieting her mind, and that's why she goes glamping.
Oh, yeah.
About that, outside the fresh air. Yeah, it all totally makes you feel better, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. There are things that you can do to help with that. And as you know, dance is one of that is my main thing, because that is when I am just being. I'm not consciously aware of anything other than life, just living, enjoying myself. So yeah, there are things that you can do to quieten your mind. But if you want to explore, if things aren't going as well as you want them to, and you want to explore, is it something to do with me? You have to be open to that in the first instance. But as I say, that is absolutely the first step. Notice. Yeah. Very simple, not always easy.
No, simple is not easy. Fantastic. Oh, Joanne says it seems to be the only time I switch off, my shoulders come down by about 4 inches. You need to do that every single weekend. But you've just been, haven't you? So you should be feeling good right now.
But you can do that. You can do that through the day. You can do that at any point you realise. You just take a deep breath and actually relax the shoulders. Just pause. One of the things I used to do, I'm giving you loads of little extra tips here. But
yeah, we'll have the extra tips when we're complaining.
One of the things I used to do on a regular basis was set alerts, reminders on my phone. So they just pop up sometimes every hour or a few times through the day, to remind myself to just breathe, pause and breathe and check in. It's about checking in with yourself as much as anything. Because when you're self-employed or running your own business, then you've got to motivate yourself. It becomes more habitual that you start to do it anyway. But at first, because we're not used to it, we just kind of get on, head down, get on with stuff.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, Sarah says that she gets lost in social media. She knows she's doing it. She just needs the willpower. Social media.
Well, that's it's really interesting, because willpower, that's a whole different topic. But I no longer believe that we really need willpower. That was when I was really driven, and a lot of us feel driven to get stuff done and achieve things, and we think it takes willpower and determination. But actually, as you start to notice and as you start to apply the next two tips, then it doesn't feel like it needs lots of willpower. It feels more simple, and it starts to feel easier. And sometimes absolutely, sometimes it does get easy, which is a wonderful way to be living your life and simply working, going throughout your day, just with that sense of ease, rather than that sense of I must do this and I need to be, I'm just need to get that willpower and determination, and I need to be persistent. And that's all kind of forcing. Whereas what I'm trying to point to here is there is another way. And it's taken me till I'm in my 50s to figure that out and to learn about that and to start to do that more for myself. But that's why I do what I do, because it just makes life feel easier for me, as well as work.
Well, I would like an easy life. Who else would like an easy life?
Yeah, who wouldn't? Really?
Yeah. Okay, so I think we need tips 2 and 3 then, because we need the secret.
Okay. Tip 2: when you notice, you need to be kind and compassionate with yourself. So what tends to happen, as I said before, when we notice, we kind of go, oh my God, all this stuff is going on in my head and I'm saying all these things. And quite often they are not very nice things to ourselves. Yeah, we kind of bully ourselves up in here. A lot of us do. So what I'm suggesting here is that when you recognize that, if that thought comes up, to be kind and compassionate with yourself. So recognize that it's a good thing, but then also be curious. So being kind and compassionate is about opening up your curiosity and letting the judgment go. So don't judge that it's bad that you're saying all these things, because that's not going to help. That's just going to keep you stuck there. It's going to keep you going round in circles. And we've all done that, haven't we? You get into this cycle of, negative stuff going on in here, feeling bad, trying to do stuff, feeling worse because it's not getting done. Then you're beating yourself up, and all that stuff kind of goes on a regular basis. So what I'm saying is simply recognize that, notice that, as well as noticing what the thoughts are. Notice that, I'm starting to get judgmental about that, and just go, isn't that interesting? My favorite words, that's fascinating, and isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that we notice that, or we say that to ourselves? Because it is really interesting. If I ask most of you, and I did this to myself, if I said the stuff that I was saying to myself to other people, I'd be horrified. I just wouldn't do it. It's not in most of our makeup. We're much more supportive and encouraging and empowering of other people than we are of ourselves.
Yeah.
So, be kind, be compassionate, which means be curious. Don't judge.
Yeah, which is easier said than done. But again, presumably, it must get easier.
It does get easier because you start to notice more often. And actually, sometimes in the noticing, you get fed up with noticing that you're being horrible to yourself.
That's all right.
And that might be what changes. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's more about that. Okay. The more you notice, the more you can do about it. But then actually, the less frequently, when you notice, the less frequently some of that stuff, the less frequent it becomes, some of the negative stuff. So it's a really interesting way of being kind to yourself and doing something that's not pushing, forcing, trying to struggle. Absolutely rewires your brain. Yeah. Because what you're doing is telling your subconscious, actually, I'm looking for something different now. You keep filtering out this stuff or getting rid of it or distorting it. And I'm keep thinking that this is the way things are. Well, actually, now I'm noticing that it's not. And what that starts to do is bring evidence to the fore of things where, maybe to the contrary, so you're thinking that you are a certain way and you always act in a certain way and things always happen to you in that way. As soon as you start to question and get curious about that, what you'll start to notice is that evidence will pop up for the complete opposite, because it's been there all along. It's been in our awareness. Well, not in our conscious awareness, but it's come into us. It's just that it's like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is your conscious awareness, about 5%. All of the rest of the iceberg, 95%, is your subconscious, is under the surface, if you like. And what that does, you're right, is it allows some of that other stuff to come up, which means it's starting to rewire your brain. So that you'll start to look for and start to believe and expect different things, which means you'll take in and become more aware of the opposite sometimes of what you have been. If it's all been doom and gloom and negative, it's not going to change overnight. But noticing and being kind to yourself absolutely will help. Yeah.
And Sarah's saying that she noticed with that health or anxiety that she no longer went straight to the worst case scenario.
Excellent. And that's what you need to celebrate. It's the little steps, it's the changes that you notice that you need to celebrate. And that's about being kind and compassionate to yourself. So it's a twofold thing. It might be practical things that you can do, but also it's simply that, okay, yeah, I don't need to be hard on myself. Where's that? I wonder where that's coming from. So just ask with curiosity rather than judgment. Oh God, there I go again with all that stuff going on.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've got a third tip, which is going to tie all this together and get rid of the need for willpower. That's what you were saying, Phil.
Absolutely, because what the third tip is to recognize that at that point, when you notice and you're starting to be kind of more compassionate with yourself, then you're at a choice point. There was a quote by Viktor E. Frankl, that I read years and years ago that really struck a chord. And I mean, it's actually in my book. It's so powerful. And I've got it here just in case I forgot what it is. So I'm just going to read it to you. It's between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our happiness.
Ooh.
So stimulus is anything. I mean, in a teaching environment, the stimulus is the teacher giving you knowledge or telling you things. The response is your learning, what you do with that. And it's the same with thoughts. If you recognize, if you notice something, then there is a space. And very often, because we're on autopilot and things are habitual and we've wired, as I can't remember who it was who said, we are rewiring our brains, but they're wired in a certain way because we have habitual thought patterns, because we expect things to be in a certain way, we believe certain things. So once we recognize that we have a stimulus, we notice something coming in, ooh, whoever that was, yeah, it's good. It is really good, because there's that little space. And that's the point at which you have a choice. So it says, in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response, and then in the response lies your growth and happiness. So choice, it's a choice point, okay? So you can choose to carry on with those thoughts, like a snow globe. When you shake a snow globe and there's snow, it looks really pretty, but actually if that was what was going in your head, that would be a bit it's a bit of a storm going on. But what we do very often is we kind of attach to all those, we kind of, oh yeah, and that, all those little things that we're trying to attach ourselves to and we attach meaning to. What we can do at that point is simply let it rest. It's we actually don't have to do anything at that choice point, which may sound a little bit strange, but there isn't anything you need to do. You can choose to pause, to take some deep breaths. You can choose to be kind to yourself and recognize that that's not what you've been doing, and do something that makes you feel good or makes you feel better, whether that's simply just going and making a cup of tea, getting in fresh air for a few minutes. You can choose to do all of those things. And remember, it's in those choices that's where your freedom and happiness lies.
Yeah.
So what that means is you bring yourself back to the present moment. And where most of us live is in the past or in the future, isn't it? We're constantly feeling guilty about stuff we didn't do when we should be there and we should have done that. And I wonder how people have taken that and all that stuff that goes on. Or where we're projecting and we're fearful about things, we're wondering whether something might happen, or there's a lot of what ifs when we're going forward. What this choice point does is brings you right back to the here and now, and recognize that in this moment, this creates your future. This is how you create your future, is simply by noticing. I'll come back to that in a sec. Sorry, I'll just notice there's something.
No, keep going.
Simply by noticing, being kind to yourself, and then making a choice. Making a different choice.
Make a different choice. Yeah. So it's up to us. Absolutely.
But that's why the kindness and compassion comes in. It's like, don't don't beat yourself up at that point. Just say, okay, I'm here now. I've noticed that's really good. What do I want to do now? And it may simply be to sit still so that you kind of drop out of your head and get back into your heart, because we get really stuck up here. Or it may be to do something very practical. But as I say, that really does bring you into the present moment. And what we need to remember is when we've got all these goals and we want to do certain things in our business, then we create that by the choices we make in the present moment. Yeah. So simply being busy and feeling overwhelmed and doing stuff that maybe isn't that important is not probably going to create the future that you want.
Yeah.
So very simple steps, as you say, not always easy to do, but start small.
Yeah.
Start small and congratulate yourself when you notice, and be kind to yourself and really curious when you do. And then decide, say, okay, I have a choice at this point. That's the space. That's the space between the stimulus and response. Do I do what I usually do, which is just get straight back in and try and forget it and then get down on myself or whatever? Or do I make a different choice? Because if you want something different in the future, we all know if you do the same stuff in the same way, you're going to get the same results. So yeah, that's bringing it right back to you and what you can do for you and for your business.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got to notice, we've got to be kind, and we've got to choose the thing that's going to be the best thing for us.
Yeah. It's recognize it's a choice point.
Yeah.
So if we choose to do what we've always done, again, that might simply be a noticing. Oh, yeah, I did that again. That's what I always do. Okay, so next time maybe you won't. Maybe you will choose something different.
Mm. Yeah. And that will be better. Yeah, I think we're all quite guilty, aren't we, of doing something the same way again and again and not really realising. And then
if we're not getting the results we want, or if we're not very happy or not feeling very fulfilled, then yes, it's all I'm asking people to do is, are you open to exploring you in that situation? Because we're all different, but there are some threads that run through because we're human beings and we think and we spend loads of time up here. There is a different way of looking at business development through looking at who we are and how we're being and how we want to be and what we want to achieve. It's just getting to know and understand ourselves better.
Yeah. Oh, no, hang on, I'll put that up so you can actually see it. That would be helpful. It's gone. Oh, there we go. Noticing that what you actually have choices is a revelation, says Pauline.
Absolutely. Because we very often don't think we have a choice, but that's simply because our brains are wired that way because of what we've done previously and what's happened to us and what we thought about it, how we felt about it, how we've internalized it, what meanings we've attached to it. That's why it's the way it is. There is always a choice, even when we think there isn't. So, get curious about what the choices might be for you.
Yeah, that's quite free, actually, isn't it? There's always a choice, even when you don't think there is. To sit there and feel, actually, yes, there's a decision. I can.
Yeah. Or simply, I can look at it a different way. I can ask myself a different question. I could let it go.
Yeah.
There are so many different things, and you may feel, well, that's a bit hard, and that's different. That's okay. That's when the kindness comes in. So sometimes they're not necessarily linear, these tips. It's kind of circular, isn't it? Because as you notice and you recognize a choice point, then you may notice 5 minutes later that actually what you said you were going to choose, you didn't actually choose, you did something else. That's noticing. Be kind to yourself. Recognize that you've noticed. So that's kind of that virtuous circle.
Brilliant. In that case, I'm just going to say, so obviously all of this stuff which Julie has been talking about and has been so useful, is the kind of thing that you talk about all the time in the Success Club. I could probably have made a bingo card and So if this is interesting to you, you might want to come and join Julie's Success Club, which I go to, and it's fantastic and helps you notice things and be kind and choose different things. And it's fantastic. So why don't you tell people where they can find out more about that and anything else that you would like to tell them about?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is the-successclub.co.uk. Lovely, you've got it up there. I've got books. I've got some free ebooks.
I've got some books. There's a book.
Lots of different
The book
things.
is very good.
Yep, a couple of books. I have some online courses. Obviously, it says what my services are. You can connect with me on Facebook, which is Julie Johnson Biz.
Sarah said that was really helpful. She didn't think we apply this to business procrastination, etc. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Sarah. We can apply this to everything.
Absolutely
everything. Yep. Yeah.
Chris says that she went to one of your previous free success masterclasses and it was really good. And
thank you, Chris.
Was that the one with the hats, or was that a different thing?
No, that was a different one. That was
that one looked so good.
We might do another one of those. That was a lunch, but that was about confidence.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.